hero rises in the night's embrace, with shadows dancing on a masked face. Pages turn where legends collide. In this world we take a wild ride. Claws flash out a metal screen. Cave shadows chase a fleeting dream. Webs entangle up in the air. Heroes heed the call when danger's there. Johnny's comic stuff, take the stage. Bright and bold from panel to page. X-Men battle in the stormy tide. Batman glides through the moonlit sky. Through tangled webs and hearts made of gold, stories unravel and truths are told. Villains rise, but they always fall. Heroes stand strong, they answer the call. Spandex suits and a will of steel. A world of fiction you can almost feel. Stories that shape a hero's life, burning bright in the darkest fight. Johnny's comic stuff, take the stage. Bright and bold from panel to page. X-Men battle in the stormy tide. Batman glides through the moonlit sky.
Thanks for popping in. I appreciate you guys taking the time to come hang out with me. I am playing around with StreamYard, so I'm definitely not a pro. I'm trying to figure it out as I go. So hopefully it's working all right. So we're gonna just get started. I'm gonna clean some books today. We're gonna talk about these as we go. First thing you got here in front of me is the books I use to learn kind of everything that I know and everything I do. So the first book up is Comic Book CPR. This is the first edition. I would highly recommend getting this first if you're gonna use this or do this technique. This book is great. It's got lots of tips and tells you all the different stuff you need to know. I would kind of read through this first before I did anything. Disclaimer, I am not a professional. Do this at your own risk. I do this mainly for my books. Hey, Brittazel. So I mainly do this for my books, but yeah, definitely pick this book up if you're going to start doing this yourself. Some Comic Book CPR. This is edition 1. And then this just came out recently. This is Comic Book CPR. This has a whole new technique in it. It's a game changer. It's so much different. They both work, but this one just has a lot more detail, a lot more information in it. It's really good as far as just understanding the process and really kind of honing in a different technique to kind of prevent reversion, to keep things from kind of reverting back. You see that a lot when you're doing stuff. Sometimes you get some reversion. So this really helps with that. It's a little less material needy too, so you don't need as much supplies to do some of the techniques in here. It kind of eliminates one of the items completely. And then this is another one that's really good, comic book stain removal. This is really good for getting like water stains out, or if you have, it goes through a bunch of different stains that you could have in a book. Like their tide lines, it's really good with. There's a technique in here on you can see there the tide line removal, where it's got some tide lines on the left, and then on the right they're gone. Technique's really good, but it's risky. I will tell you that right up front. It's a risky technique, so be very careful if you do this technique. You are laying basically a wet piece of paper on top of a comic book. It tells you all the different types of all the different types of stains that you might find on a book. There's also a technique in here for whitening the pages. But again, even with that, be very careful, because too white is not good. If you make a book whiter than it should be, that's not good. So yeah, definitely check this book out too, Comic Book Stain Removal. Again, they're all three by Mike Sorensen, Captain Mike. If you've not seen this page, Captain Mike, he's really good. He's really tested these techniques out, and they work pretty good. I've had great success with them. There are links below. I'm not a monetized channel, so if you are interested, help me out. Click on those below. There's a list of all the stuff I'm going to be using, all the different techniques I do, and all the tools I use. So we're going to get started. If you saw me last night on the live show, I talked about some of the books we're going to be cleaning. The first book up, Fantastic Four Annual number 6. This is the first Franklin Richards. So always start with this, gloves. You don't want to get your oily hands, even if they're clean and dry, they're still oily. You don't want to get your oily hands all over the book and get fingerprint marks or all kinds of other stuff. So always wear gloves when you're doing this. I'll take the gloves off at the end for another thing I'm going to do to this book specifically, but I'll explain why I'm doing that when I do it. So this book actually isn't that dirty, but we're still going to take our cotton round and go over it and just kind of rub, make sure we're not missing anything. This is a square bound book, and square bounds are always a little bit trickier than a standard book. So as you're rubbing on the edge here, you can feel like I can feel right there's a staple, and there's another staple down here, right there. So I want to make sure not to use too much pressure where the staples are, and then actually tear the cover. So just kind of going over it, using pretty firm pressure. I'm not scrubbing it, but I'm just using some good pressure, and then I'll check the cotton round. There's a little bit of dirt on it. It's not too bad. Like I said, I didn't expect this to be too bad because it's a pretty clean book. I'll do the same on the back. And again, I'll feel for those staples. There's one right there. There's one right there. So I want to be careful when I rub over the staples. Underneath this book too, it's not just laying on this mat. I have a clear backer board I'm using. So it's laying on the clear backer board just to keep from scratching up the front of it or getting dirt stuck into it. But again, just light rub, a little bit of pressure, not scrubbing, just run some pressure over it, and then we'll check it. And again, not too much dirt there. So again, as I look at this book, I don't really see any dirt buildup. I'm going to go over a few spots. You can see a little bit up here in the top. But it's not going to need a full, like, scrub down clean as my dog barks like crazy. But this looks almost like printing ink up here too. If you watched last week too, I'm not using any pressure. I'm just letting the eraser kind of rub over the top of this. Real light. Again, not a professional, so again, do this at your own risk. That's my disclaimer for the video. I don't want you to go do this and tear your books up. I'm like, well, that's what Johnny told me. I've practiced on a lot of lesser books, and like I said, I've gotten pretty good at it. Gotten pretty good results on my cleanings. So we're just going through really lightly. Anywhere I see some dirt as I go. And it's not like all inclusive. I'm not making sure I hit every inch. I'm just looking for dirt. If I see anything, I kind of rub it off. So again, always use a white eraser. White erasers are important. You don't want to use a red or the pink eraser, because that pink will go into the cover. Yeah, Rich. I'm playing around with StreamYard, so I kind of got it messed up. So, yeah, thanks for joining, man. We're cleaning Fantastic Four Annual 6 here. The cleanest of the books we're going to clean. So, the reason I'm cleaning this one is I kind of want to show you guys the press technique for a square bound that I use. I'm not actually going to go through putting it in the press, but I'll show you how I separate the pages. But right now I'm just going through and making sure all the big dirt's off. I'm not going to go through the hop technique on this video, but I will hop this book. If you see at the bottom, there's a dust shadow along the bottom here. So you can see where the color kind of goes from a tan, and then there's a solid line that goes to the white. And if I hold that up a little higher, you can really see it. And it's just a dust shadow. What happened is there was a book that was laying on top of this at one point, just like that. And that darkness and dirt in the air and all that kind of made that little dust shadow. So yeah, as far as cleaning, this book here, it's basically done. I'm going to take the absorbing pad again. Link below if you're interested in picking one of these up. I would highly recommend, if you're going to clean books, get one of these. Like I said, there are links below for all the stuff I'm using here. And just lightly pull. Always pull towards the edge of the book. Don't push up, because you're going to tear it if you do that. Especially a book that's a little bit rougher. This book's pretty solid, so I can be a little tougher on it and not have to worry about it. So check this little spot right here. There's a little tiny bit of dirt. I'll just go over that right there in the lettering. I don't ever go inside the lettering. I've seen people do that where they take the fine eraser and they go up in the lettering and really get in there. And for the amount of work that takes, you're not really going to get a grade bump from that. It's not going to have a huge impact on what you do. So it's kind of not worth it. But yeah, this part here, the edge is always good. And the other thing you can do is take a backer board and slide it in. You can see the staples are here and here. So you can take the backer board, slide it in there. That way, when you're cleaning over the staples, you don't risk tearing through the cover. You also can get there's always little indents where the staples are, and you can kind of clean around that because they're more likely to pick up dirt. But yeah, we're basically done with the back, so I'm just going to give it a wipe off. Flip it over. I don't think the front really needs anything. We did go over it with the cotton round. I don't really see any dirt. I'll look at it a little better. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do anything with that. So this book's basically done. If they were all this easy, it'd be great, but they're not. But what I do want to show you is how I put my paper in here. So always when you clean and press a book, the pressing part, you want layers in the pages. With square bounds, it's even more important because you don't want to smash the square. If you put too much heat on it and press down, you'll actually smash on the edge. And the only thing these are, it's like they take all the pages, they staple them together, and then they glue the cover on. And if you heat it up too much, and I keep my square bounds around 140, but if you heat it up too much and put a bunch of pressure down, you're gonna smash the spine, and it's gonna get a bunch of like creases and stuff in here that you don't want. So one of the ways to help with that, 65-pound cardstock between the cover and the first page. And then I'm going to go 2 pages. I'm going to go 2 pages deep. And I'm going to put just a standard print paper, just a thin print paper. And then I'm going to go every 4 pages. So count out 1, 2, 3, 4. Get that out of the way. Put 1 page in there. And you don't have to be real tidy with these right now. You're just getting them in there. Then go again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Next page, slider in there. Count again, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you'll do this all the way through the book. And And what you're going to end up with when you get to the end, we went 2 pages in. When you get to the very end of the book, you should get, when you do your 4th page, there should be 2 pages left in the back cover. So a lot of pages in this, so hang in there as we count through them. I promise it will get more exciting. So you can wedge them in a little bit, but like we're going to do something here at the end that'll help that too. So keep going. We're getting closer to the end. It's a giant size, king size special edition. So a lot of pages. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we got 2 more pages to put in here. 1, 2, 3. Oh, so I must have miscounted. So there's 3 pages left. We'll leave that 3 pages. That's fine. And then we're going to put another piece of 65-pound cardstock between the back cover and the last page. And then what you're going to do now is you just want to put it up on edge, and it's going to be hard to show in this camera angle. But I'm just going to tap it down. And what that's doing is that's just pushing all that paper in, so it gets right up against the staple. The problem you run into with these is the staple's inset, maybe an 1/8 inch, so you can't get all the way to the edge. You don't want to go notching out every single page to go around it. So just get in there, tap it. Make sure they're nice and tight as far down as they can go, and then that's basically it for the pressing portion. Then we'll put a magazine backer board, or magazine backer board, then some SRP, the book, another piece of SRP, magazine backer, and then close the press. I use metal sheets. Some people use the metal sheets, some people don't. I like the metal sheets. I think it gives a more even press. But so this book's ready for the press. I'll press it, let it sit for about a day, and then take it out. It should get rid of a lot of these wrinkles around the staples and around the spine. There's really not much going on the outside of the edge that I need to worry about. There's a little bit of a wrinkle down here in the corner. And then the back's pretty good too. There's a little tiny, looks like where it's dog ear at one time. So I got to just make sure I don't do too much there to where it puts too much pressure and breaks that off. But it's ready to go. So, that's pretty much it for a square bound. Again, if you ever do start pressing and you start doing square bounds, do some very cheap books first. It's the hardest technique, I would say, of all the books I've tried to do. All the books I've learned, modern books, golden age books, silver age, high grade, low grade. The hardest thing I found is the square bound. So if you're going to do a square bound, just be real careful. Make sure you practice first. Like I say, practice makes perfect. So we're going to set this aside. This one, like I said, it's ready for the press. I'm not going to go through that right now or on this video. So we are going to move into the next book, though, and this book is just trashed. So this is Superman's Girlfriend, Lois Lane, number 70. And this is the first Silver Age Catwoman. And I'm not sure how well you can tell, but this book is just so dirty. I mean, it's one of the dirtiest books I've ever seen. So it's a great book for an example book, and it's a key. It's a pretty high valuable book. So we're going to slide our backer board in there, just take a cotton round, and we're going to go over it. This book looks really rough, but it's actually in pretty good shape. There is a couple tears here on the edge. We need to be real careful when we're working around, but the staples are nice and tight. I'm not worried about the staples coming off. I'm using even less pressure on this than I did on the last book, just because it's in a little bit rougher shape, and I don't want to go and tear it or cause any problems. So we're just going to keep working the cotton round around, go over every little inch one time, and then we'll take off the cotton, see what it looks like, see how dirty it is, see how much stuff we're getting up, or if we just move right into cleaning. So yeah, not hardly anything came up. So it's all pretty deep dirty. So I talked about this last time. I really like this. If you see this last time, this is the little micro zero cleaning, like a mechanical pencil eraser. If you're going to clean books, get one of these. I can't I can't stress how much of this thing has been great for like areas like in here and around the cat. These little areas like between their faces where it's really small. You don't want to use a big eraser there, and these are nice. They give you nice control of where you're erasing. And again, if you're interested in one of these, there is a link below. Should be a link below to pick one of these up on Amazon. It does help out the channel, helps me out making these awesome videos for you guys. And then this here is also really good for like some of the larger areas, like in here, around here, where I don't want to use the big one. So I'm going to just start with a little eraser. Let me kind of move some lights around to give you some better light on this. It is hard because my hands create shadows. Hopefully that'll be a little bit brighter for you. Hopefully not too much glare. Again, there's a clear backer board underneath this so that I can slide it around and not have to worry about it. And then the book, and then I have one magazine board or one backer board right behind the first cover. And then I'm just going to start cleaning. I'm going to start with the bottom. You know, this is really dirty, so I'm pretty confident it's going to clean up really well. The problem is it's so dirty, it's going to take forever to clean. And I don't know how much I can just keep talking about what I'm doing. So I will try to be entertaining. But I can see already that like a lot of this dirt's already coming out. I'm using, I mean, like no pressure at all. I'm just literally letting the pen sit on the paper, or the eraser here sit on the paper. You might be able to hear a little bit of the back and forth. But this isn't like if you wrote something in pencil and you went to erase it. You're not erasing like that. That's more of a scrub. This is just a light rub. A very light rub. And then you can see like the dirt that's getting picked up and put on the end of that. We're going to clean this off every now and then. Again, absorbing pad is fantastic for that. You can just do that. I also have, this mat that's underneath here is also really good for it. Make snake eyes a little dirty here, get it off. But now you can see it's cleaner. If you get too much dirt built up on this, you'll actually push it back into the paper, and you don't want to do that. So we're just going to keep working. Again, this book's going to take a while. It's just super dirty. And I do this pretty much every Sunday. I sit and clean comic books, so I figured might as well share that with you guys as I go. Talk about what I do. I don't typically, like toot my own horn, but I have gotten pretty good at this. I would say if I wanted to start a business cleaning comic books, I probably could. I just don't have the time. I got 2 young kids and just life's busy. So I just do it for myself and occasionally for friends when they have a book they want cleaned. That's weird when I turn this. Oh, I see why. So it's attached to this. So when I turn it, I'm turning the end too, and I couldn't figure out why the head of the eraser was turning with me. I'm an idiot. So there's a little pointy part. You can see a little pointy edge on that. I'm actually going to use that to get right between the letters here. It's funny too. Like all these erasers are just white erasers, but they feel like they do different. Like they clean better. Some clean better. Like this is really good for these small areas. But the pencil topper eraser is my favorite as far as how well it works. And I don't know why. They're both, white erasers. So there's basically no difference. I don't know what erasers are made out of, but I would imagine they're made out of the same stuff. That pencil topper just seems to work a little better. As far as removing, it's not good for these tighter areas. So I like circle motions too. I've seen people say, "Oh, you should just go in straight lines back and forth," and I say, you know what? Whatever works for you is what you should do. I think there's lots of ways to clean and press comic books, and there's no perfect way. The perfect way is just whatever works best for you. that's going to be what gives you the best results, is whatever you find works best for you and you're most comfortable with. So we got a lot of dirt really buried in right underneath the end here, and I'm not having much luck getting it up. So we're going to do a little bit of stuff here. We're going to work around the penguin's cigarette and his cigarette holder. You want to be real careful not to go over the lines, the black lines of ink there, because especially these older books, if they've lost a lot of gloss, that black will erase pretty quickly or blur up really quickly. So just be careful when you're doing this, not to hit the ink areas. And you can see all the like crumbs and stuff that are building up around the end of the eraser. I need to clean her off. Give her a nice rub there on that. Kind of spin it in my absorbing pad. Yeah, I'm probably due for a new absorbing pad. It doesn't look bad on the camera, I'm sure, but it's starting to get pretty rough. Been using this one for a while. And they're not very expensive. I think they're like $8 or $9. Again, links below if you're interested in any of the stuff I use. Not because it's pricey, but I would recommend if you are looking to get a press, the one I link below is the one I use, and it's really good. It's got good controls. It's got good adjustments. Like I've used some that don't have really good sensitivity in the adjustment. You can't tweak it as much as you can on the one I have. And it's like you can do really, really minor adjustments with it. It also holds nice and square when you press it. Some of the ones they tip a little bit, so it's like tighter in the back than it is in the front. You definitely don't want that. That's bad for your book. Work on her shoes. Lois is throwing down with the Catwoman. So I always love this cover. I like the Super Pussycat, which is formerly Superman in the cage. And it's like a kryptonite. The bars are made out of kryptonite, so he can't like turn back in. All right, so we're going to start working on this edge now, and I mentioned it earlier. There's some tears here. So there's a tear right there. There's another tear right there, and if I fold it, you can kind of see they transfer through to the back. You got to be real careful around the tears because too much pressure will make them worse. So what you can do when you're doing this is just put your finger right up against it, and I'm actually holding that down, and I'm going to go around as close as I can to my finger without really messing with that edge, so I can be a little rougher while I'm holding it down and not have to worry about the tear. This book will also get a hop because it's got a lot of little staining in it, and I think it'll work well. There's a stain right in here. You can't see it very well probably on the camera, but it just looks like it got wet at one point. There's a little tide line stain. So it's already a lot whiter right there. But now I got to get around this edge. And again, you have to be really careful around these tears. It doesn't matter how white the cover is. If you tear a big chunk off, it's going to lose some value. And ultimately, it's going to lose its ability to stay together long term. It's going to be more likely to tear more over time. So I think that's pretty good. We'll get the micro eraser and just go down around her shoe and her foot here in that little tiny crevice. And then right up against her leg. That's pretty good. As good as I can get with erasers. Again, a hop will do this thing wonders. I can see kind of as I look at it really close, there's almost like it got wet on the edge here. And there's a light tide line all the way up where the water was dirty. It soaked into the paper, and then when it dried, it left that dirt right on the edge of how far up it soaked to. So we're going to work right on top of that crease now. And tear and just be real gentle, and then use the same thing with with my finger. I'm kind of holding it down so it doesn't pop up. Getting right up against her backside, and you can see the dirt coming off there on the eraser. There's quite a bit. So we're doing my circular technique. There's another tear right there where I'm working, so I'm going to kind of be real gentle again. And then right where the motion from her hand comes up, there's a tear right at the bottom of that. So when I get there, I'm going to be real careful too. So I'm going to take I'm not going to use the absorbing pad because I don't want it to catch an edge on that wrinkle and tear and pull to rip. So I'm just going to lightly dust this off with my cotton round. And then get all everywhere. Again, this book's super dirty. I don't know how much improvement this will give it. I bought it as I think a 2.5, so it's actually it will still improve. It's going to look a lot nicer. Even if the grade doesn't get a huge bump, it's still going to present a lot better. And at the end of the day, you know, I've heard lots of people say it. I'm a strong believer of it too. If you're buying a comic book that's graded, don't buy the grade, buy the book. You know, you see a lot of those books that are really, really faded. And, you know, it looks like they got sun fade on them, but otherwise they're perfect and they're like a 4.5. You know, I'd rather have a shiny, nice with some wrinkles 3.5 than that book, just because the color's so poor on it from the sunlight and the fading. You know, again, preference is preference. I just think, you know, if you're going to buy a book, buy one that you like to look at, you think it looks good, not so much what the grade is. You know, when you're getting up in that higher grade and it's a 7.5 or an 8.5, you know, buy the grade at that point. But I've seen lots of books that are, you know, are a point or two higher than some, and I still think the one that's the lower grade looks better and presents better. I had a really good copy of Incredible Hulk 181, and it was a 3.0. But when you looked at the cover, I mean, it looked like a 7. The reason it was a 3.0 is on the back cover, there's a triangle, a large triangle, you know, probably 2 inches across, that was cut off. It didn't affect anything. Didn't affect any of the ad on the back. Didn't affect any of the story. Didn't affect any of the artwork anywhere. But it got a 3.0 because of that. But I was really happy to have it when I had it because it just looked so much better than a 3.0. So we're going to go back to the micro eraser, and, you know, we're going to get some of her little cuff here on her shirt. And I'm just going to go back and forth through there, get all the dirt out of that. I mean, that looks pretty good. And then we're going to work around her collar and then this area between her hair and her shoulder, which is really tight. Again, you don't want to use the bigger eraser there. You'll end up going over the ink and the artwork, and even if you think, oh, I didn't do anything, it will look worse as you as it sits. It'll get blurry looking. It'll take some of the color pop off, and it just won't look as good. You know, as I clean this, I'm actually more and more excited to go through and do a hop on this, because what I thought was a dirt is a lot of this is just tide lines in there. And those are super easy to get out with the hop technique. Again, get Captain Mike's whitening book. Like I said, I don't recommend the whitening technique as far as the bled, just because I don't think you're getting that much in return for the risk of damaging the book. But the hop technique, you don't hurt the book at all. I don't know if it's magic, Adam, but it's happening, whatever it is. But yeah, I would strongly recommend against the bled technique. I just don't I don't see the benefits of it. I've tried it a few times. I've had varying results, and like I said, ultimately, the risk of getting a purple label if you're grading books is so high, and the grade bump is so low. It's just not worth it. But hopping, man, the heat overlay press, that's one of the greatest things I think has happened to comic books, because not only does it make it look better, it's getting dirt out of the paper that could otherwise be deteriorating the paper over time. You know, and ultimately, like I think I've said this before, like I enjoy doing this because it gives me the opportunity to get more X-Men books, and that is my goal in life, is just to have as many X-Men books as possible. But also, I love that, one, the book is not going to deteriorate more over time. And it's restoring it back to some of its original looks. Like, obviously, this book's never going to look like it did in, 1968 or whatever when it came out. But it's going to look a lot better than it did in 2025 when I bought it. So, um, and, I will slab this book. So then it's not going to deteriorate more over time. It's not going to get dirtier. The tears aren't going to get worse. So, you're preserving history. I'm I'm as big a dork as there is. Yeah, I love comic books. I've loved them since I was a little kid. And books like this were books that I'd never thought I'd even own when I was a kid. When you couldn't realize that you would actually make more than a couple bucks an hour for doing work and stuff like this. So when I do get them, I try and take care of them, try and make them look good. So we're just going to go over the cotton round, see if we get any of that loose dirt off there that I scraped off or erased off. So it's hard to tell, but you can kind of start seeing where this is going. If I hold it up a little closer, you can see this area that's been cleaned and this area here that's not been cleaned. I know the camera doesn't do it justice as much as it does where I'm sitting here, but this is white, or it's an off-white color, but you don't see all the dirt lines. Where here you can see all the little wrinkle lines, and we're going to get all those wrinkles out when we press it anyways. So this book specifically, I might actually press it and then clean some more before I do any hop, because when you press it, you get those little crevices worked out. It's easier to kind of erase on top of them. So we're just going to keep working. Again, I'm just going to keep talking about random shit as we go, and what I'm doing. But it's not common for a book to take this long to clean. This book will take well over an hour to clean just because of the condition it's in. I would say in most instances, even really dirty books, you can clean them 20, 30 minutes. This book also has a lot of white on it, which also gives you a lot more clean. The white always shows the dirt the most, and it's really the only thing you can do an eraser type dry clean. And I haven't cleaned that in a while. Look how dirty that thing is. That's all dirt. There's nothing else on there but dirt. That whole black tip is just crap that's came out of this book. So again, absorbing pad as my dog's going nuts. And I haven't cleaned it in a while, so it's going to be hard to get off. It works really good on the absorbing pad, but I find this mat really helps me too. And again, sorry, snake eyes. You're gonna suck some of the dirt out of my eraser. So now it's nice and clean. It'll clean a lot better when it's cleaned off like that. If it's dirty, it's got all that grit. You don't get good cleaning because it doesn't press as well. So I'll kind of go back over some of those other areas I did, just because I haven't cleaned it in a while. I've been so focused on talking, I forgot one of the most basic concepts of cleaning a comic book, and that's cleaning your eraser every so often. So we'll go, and I have you can see the edge on this is beveled. I take an X-Acto knife and bevel that edge just so I have some more maneuvering with it. So it's got multiple angles and edges I can work with. So we'll just do some circling and some scrubbing. Should be outside today. It's nice out. I mean, I think it's I think temperature's in like the high 50s, but it's like nice and sunny. But the yard's cut, and Sundays are usually the day I work on my comic books. So, hey, David, welcome to the show, man. David comments on every single video I post. So thanks for popping in, David. I do appreciate it. I appreciate your checking me out all the time. He also just won a comic book that's en route to Scotland. So that's kind of cool. It was funny. I was talking with my buddy, David, and we were trying to determine where you were from based on your last name. And he actually said that was a UK name. He thought it was Welsh, though. And I said, well, I hope he immigrated to the US so I don't have to send it to Scotland, but you did not. So It's going to take a while to get there. I know that. They even told me at the post office it'll be a couple weeks. So it should be on a plane or a boat or however they get it there. And then I imagine they'll sit in customs for a few days. And hopefully you'll get it not too soon and everything will be good. Chonko in the house. Did your dog look exhausted on your Instagram post? I looked at that and man, that dog just looked beat. I don't know how much you ran it, but I mean, its eyes were bloodshot and it just looked like it was wore out. All right, so getting a little bit into this tighter areas, I'm using the smaller eraser. I'm actually going to go to my medium eraser. And again, for those of you guys who came in late or a little later, so this is sitting on a clear backing board to protect the back from from scratching across my mat. And then underneath the cover, I have a backing board just to prevent any damage, give me a nice firm surface to work on. Yeah, my dog's not tired. I don't know if you can hear him, but that dog's never tired. He does that 24 hours a day. Middle of the night, he attacks the other dogs when they're sleeping. Yeah, he's a little asshole. I mean, I love him though. He's just not a good dog sibling. So you can see all those little chunks of stuff around my eraser. That's all just pieces of dirty eraser that are coming off. So I'm getting a lot of dirt out of this thing. I mean, a lot of dirt. Again, I'll try and show you here. I've cleaned in here. I have not cleaned in here. And you can see there's like big waves of dirt over here on the right and not on the left. So there were waves of dirt like that on the left when I started, and they're gone now. So I'll be honest, I've probably cleaned, and I'm not exaggerating, I've probably cleaned 1,000 comic books. This might be this one and the next one might be the dirtiest 2 comic books I've ever cleaned. And they both have like massively white covers, so it's even worse because there's so much area to clean. And what's kind of crazy about this is the white is really dirty, but the color actually isn't that dirty. There's some scuffing on the color, like on her dress. That's not dirt; it's just scuffing. But yeah, the white's where all the dirt is, surprisingly, which is good because I can get that off. There's not much you can do about dirty colors. I am using, as I get closer to the spine, if the spine's nice and solid, I do use a little more pressure too. Again, if you're going to do this, practice. Practice. Buy some cheap books. This doesn't work real good on modern stuff, just because of the way the paper is. You can kind of do it up until some of the stuff in the early 90s, late 80s, but I tend to just do this stuff on silver, bronze, and golden stuff. Occasionally I'll get into some copper, but not much. Just because the paper changed a lot. The what they used to like put the gloss on it changed a lot, and it just becomes a lot easier to mess it up or make the worst thing you can do is you have a really glossy, shiny book. If you clean this area, you could be erasing the gloss, and then it's still really glossy here, so it just looks bad. So it's not worth it. Plus, if you got a book from the 90s, it's really dirty. You can probably just find another copy that's in better shape, unless it's some crazy book like some major key that came out in the 90s, which there isn't a lot. There's a few, but there's not a lot. Yeah, I'm actually really happy with how this is turning out. I wasn't sure. I'm going to clean my eraser. You see all the dirt on there again. I wasn't sure how well it was going to go. I thought it would clean up pretty well, but it's actually cleaned up better than I expected, which is always good. Again, you're going to clean. Get the micro eraser. This thing is like, it's the best. I can't say enough how awesome this thing is. It even has refills. I have the refills over here next to me. So like, just get these refills when it goes out, and it comes with like I think it came with 4 refills. And you put these in when it gets bad, and you get a brand new eraser, and they last a long time. I've cleaned a lot of books with this one eraser, and it's still, it's still going pretty strong. So always dust off every now and then too, just so you can see better. Make sure you get it. I'm going to try and get here in where it says Superman's a little bit. There's some dirt in there, but excuse me, with that, you just want to give it a very light touch because it's so easy to get into the ink. I'm not going to do a whole lot. I just want to kind of outline the letters and try and get any of the lighter dirt off. I'm not going to like scrub on this at all or give it any real pressure. I'm just trying to get any of the light surface dirt off. I'd love to see whoever own this book. I'd love to see his other books because, man, like I said, I've seen some dirty books. I don't even know how a book gets this dirty. It's almost like they laid it on a dirt floor or something. It's just packed full of dirt. Can you guys hear my little dog going nuts? I don't know if that's picking that up or not. It's a Chihuahua, and he is full of energy. So we'll go back over with the cotton round. I don't expect to get any more dirt off here with the cotton round, but it's just cleaning those shavings off. Yeah, so nothing really coming out of there. Take a drink of my energy drink. Make sure my fingers are dry. So this is coming along really well. The back's going to suck. I'm not going to lie. I'm not looking forward to cleaning the back of this. If it wasn't such a key book, I don't even know if I would have put the effort into it. But it's a pretty good book. It's not one you would just want to send to CGC looking like this. And if it was not a key book, I probably wouldn't do this or have it graded. But, First Silver Age Catwoman, great cover too. I always like the DC checkerboard covers. So we are going to get into S a little bit here because it's got some dirt, and we can give a little more pressure here. There's a little more room to maneuver. So it's P, and then we'll just go back to scrubbing away. So I don't know if any of you guys saw my the video I posted this morning. There's some cool stuff in there. I got some cool poster magazines that I thought were really cool. Some of them I had no interest in, so I just sold them. But there was a couple really cool X-Men ones in there that I really liked. But I've been playing around with. I am not musically inclined at all. I was in the chorus in school and I wasn't very good at it. I've just never been really. I like music. I'm just not good at creating it. But I've been messing around with some AI song creation stuff, and I gotta tell you, man, if you watch that video, there's a little intro section, and it's an AI created song, and it's like addicting. It's kind of fun to do it, but like it's crazy how good it is. And I don't know anything about music. I think if I could prompt it and know that I wanted, hey, make this in B flat or whatever, or I could actually talk music and knew that language, I think you could really create some pretty crazy stuff. But yeah, AI, man, it's I'm going to use it until it takes over the world, and the robots enslave all the humans, because I think we've all seen the movies. That's what happens. But it's amazing what that technology can do for sure. I mean, I'll be honest too. Watching some of the movies I've seen lately, I bet it could make some better movies than some of the stuff these people are writing. Because some of these movies these people are writing, they're just, oh man, they're bad. I am, uh, I am enjoying Andor. If you watch that, I really like the Daredevil series. I grew up in the '80s, so Star Wars has always been, a love of mine. And just seeing the different planets in the Star Wars show is really cool. They were on Chandroa a lot in the last episode, and it's like I've read about that place and heard about it, but this is 40 years later I finally get to see it, see what it is, and I really like that aspect of it. I like that Diego Luna too. He's pretty good. There's actually a lot of good stuff on right now. Like that's really good. The Last of Us. I never played the video game, but this show's fantastic. If you haven't seen it, man, the last episode too was, man, it was like heart wrenching. Like, it really pulled at me a little bit. I was like, no way that just happened. And I had heard people that played the game kind of knew it was happening, what happened, but yeah, it was a shocker for me. I never played the game, so I was very surprised. But yeah, great show. If you haven't checked it out, man, check out the first season. It's post-apocalyptic, almost a little bit like Walking Dead, but with zombies that can actually catch you. I watched The Walking Dead a little bit when it came out for a couple seasons, but it got so repetitive, and it was just odd because the zombies are all really really slow, right? So they don't move very fast. But yet everyone's always caught off guard when they show up. Like they're always surprised. They're like, "Oh no, it's going to get me." It's like, no, just like walk at a medium speed and you will outrun it. But yet they're always getting caught off guard by them, and they're always. It's like, man, this doesn't seem realistic. Not that zombies are realistic in general. It just seemed odd that people always, were surprised. Like they're everywhere. You guys know they're everywhere. You're running from them all the time. Yeah, it just got to where it was like, this is just not even realistic. The first season was awesome, but it was like gritty and dingy and kind of, dark and almost like had very, like, almost poor production value, which made it even better because it was just kind of rough. Yeah, and I got so, and they always say they can't find bullets or they don't have bullets, but yeah, they always got bullets. They're always shooting each other. For a bunch of people that have a hard time getting bullets, they sure do shoot a lot. So it was a good show, and it definitely was great for a while. I've read some of the comics, and I like those a lot. But yeah, man, I couldn't get into it. I did actually start watching the new version with Michonne and Rick. That's not too bad. I don't know if it's based off a comic or not. I know a lot of people are like hardcore fans. Uh, and yeah, I just lost interest. It kind of wore down on it. It got too repetitive for me. So there's some scratches in this right here. And I know you can't see these, but in the scratches are little pieces of dirt. So I'm actually going to take my little scraper. I think this is like for your teeth. I don't, not for like me for my teeth, but I think that these are made for either cleaning teeth or modeling, clay modeling. So they work really good for if you get a little piece of dirt, you can just kind of lightly rub over, almost like pick it off, and not hurt the book. Again, well, like everything though, the amount of pressure you use is everything. If you're like gouging into it, you're going to tear it up. So be careful. So yeah, this is really coming along. We've done all of this up here. Looks a lot better. All this down here, and the outside edges of the books are always the toughest. They always seem to hold the most dirt. So we're going to finish up here, and then we'll get around the Superman Pussycat, and then we'll flip over to the back. And the back is going to be like, I literally just want to take a giant eraser and just scrape across it, but then I'll mess up all the art and ink. But the back's rough. And there are so many little micro wrinkles and creases. And it's kind of nice too. I'm seeing now there's another set of tide lines in here that I can definitely get off with some hop. Again, there's no way that you can see them on the camera, but it's all around here. It just goes all the way down and then comes back up through here. That'll all go away with hop, and it'll make it look a lot better. And my wife yelling at the dog. I told her she was really loud. She'd be on live stream. My wife's very introverted. She's not the social butterfly that I am. So she was like, "No, I don't want to be on that." And I said, "Well, then you got to be quiet, or you're going to hear you, and I'm going to talk about you." Yeah, I've been to so many comic book shows and stuff. My wife's never been to a comic book show with me. She's never. I've even told her like, "Hey, all the people from this show you watch are going to be there." She's like, "I don't want to go," and she has zero interest in going to a comic book shop or a comic book show. I've begrudgingly gotten her to go into like a comic book store, but after about, I don't know, 2 minutes, she's like, "I'm gonna go sit in the car." Like she doesn't give me any crap for being into it or doing it, but she has like zero interest in it. But she actually owns comics. She has all of the omnibuses for The Walking Dead because she loves that. Her favorite writer ever is Chuck Palahniuk, and if you don't know who Chuck Palahniuk is, he wrote Fight Club. And they made a comic book of Fight Club. So she has every issue of Fight Club and Fight Club 2 and all the variant covers. And she made me put them in bags and boards. And then she won't let me store them with all the other comic books. They're kind of in her little storage area with her Walking Dead books. But yet she won't go into these shows. You know, when I go to a show, I'm like, "Oh, Chandler Riggs is going to be there from The Walking Dead." She's like, "Yeah, I don't want to see him." So one of these days, I'm going to talk her into it. You know, I'm going to say, "Come on, you're going to go. I need you to carry some long boxes for me so we can get some books signed." But she's not good in crowds. She doesn't like big crowds like that. She doesn't even like going to like the grocery store because of the people. So yeah, looking a lot better here, guys. I'm really happy with how this is turning out. And again, before I did this, I didn't realize how much of this was not just dirt, but how much of it was like tide lines and some water damage that I know will come out, which is awesome. It's still not going to be a high grade. It's probably going to fall in the 4.5 range, but I bought it as a 2.5, so that's a 2-point bump for just some time cleaning and pressing it. It's well worth it. And again, it wouldn't be worth it if it was like Lois Lane 71, because that book has no real prominence to it, but this one does. It's kind of surprising too. It took this long for them to bring the Catwoman back because she was such a great character. The Silver Age started in 56, I think, and I think this book came out in like 68. So that's a long time. It's a long time to go and not have a great one of these great characters like that. But yeah, I don't know. DC had some weird ass characters back in the day. Some of their villains were really weird. I still think like Mr. Mixel Plixit, or however you say his name. It's like, that's the oddest name. And who thought of that? What's the brainstorming session? Just sitting there like, let's make a guy, and let's make his name something that no one can say and it has no vowels in it. It just seemed kind of odd, but DC, the continuity thing always was my big issue. I was never a big DC fan as a kid because you could read an issue, especially before the crisis storyline, and somebody could die, and in the next issue they're just alive again, like no explanation, no anything on what happened, and they were just back. So I didn't like that. I think Crisis helped clean that up a lot. But then I didn't like all the cities were fictional. Star City, Gotham, Metropolis. I mean, I know they're modeled off, New York and Chicago and stuff like that. But if I read a Marvel comic book, they were in a real place. They went to DC and they went to New York. A lot of the characters from New York, Hell's Kitchen and Queens and Brooklyn. Quasar, Quasar was from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. I mean, I've actually been to Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, and I can't imagine a superhero coming from Fond du Lac. But I imagine if you live in Fond du Lac, that's probably your favorite comic book character, though. So it looks like there's some, I don't know, it almost looks like a huge fingerprint dent, which will come out. It looks like it could have been some ink on there, but it's not. There's no bleed through. And if you look on the inside, you can see, because the paper, the way the ink they use is so, it's so like not sealed. It just transfers to this. It doesn't actually hurt the inside at all, but it kind of works like silly putty. It just transfers to this really easily. Either side, you can use the glossy side up or the matte side up. It still transfers. You can see here too, this is some stuff that will definitely be able to get out with hop. You can see it really good on the inside. This giant stain right here, like that will definitely come out when I use hop on it. So that's good. Seeing something like that on the inside. You can clean the inside of these too. I usually don't, just because you got a lot more risk to damage the book when you're trying to clean the inside cover. And like I said, you don't get as much bang for your buck out of it. You can see the tide lines here I was talking about too actually bleed through. So a lot of that's going to come out with hop. Again, if you're going to do the hop technique on your own, buy the book. It's worth it. It's a great book. Comic book stain removal. I think it's like $25 or $30. Again, there's a link below to all these books. And I would highly recommend using Captain Mike's books. There's a lot of books out there for cleaning and pressing and stuff like that. This guy's got a team of guys that he works with that they all test it out on multiple things, and multiple books from multiple eras, different types of stains. So they really vet out the process and make sure it works really good before they publish the book. So that the technique that they're using, it has been tested. Where I think, and I've gotten a couple of the other books, and it's just like you read it, and some of the techniques, it's like that's not really good technique. So the back. Let's talk about the back. One, it's trashed. Two, there's a pretty good tear right there at that staple that we're going to have to be really careful around. It's going to be really easy to get an eraser catch on that and tear it up. So we're going to be real careful around that. And then there's like ink up here, this 920. I'm not going to be able to erase that. That's not going to go away. There's just no way to remove ink like that. It looks like it's probably a pen or like a felt tip marker did that. So I'm not going to mess with that. I'm going to lightly go over it to get the dirt off around it, but I don't want it to fade, because then it looks like it's been cleaned, and you just open yourself up for stuff. So I'm just going to quickly kind of go over that. Oh, you know what? We didn't cotton round it. Always cotton round first. You guys are supposed to remind me of these things so I don't mess up this book. So we didn't get much off the front, so I doubt we're going to get much off the back, but I'm going to give it a shot. You never know. And again, I'm using a lot of pressure down, not a lot of pressure side to side. So, and hold your edge down. Always helps. I've had it before, where I'm doing that and rip, and it's just, it hurts my heart, it makes me sad to tear a comic book that I'm trying to clean. But it has happened. I mean, like I think I said last week, I did it actually on a Golden Age Superman, and it was pretty upsetting. I'm not gonna lie, it made me feel pretty bad. So yeah, we're not getting anything off, so I'm not even gonna. I'll just give it a quick once over. This dirt's so embedded into the paper that this isn't gonna work. So we're just gonna go straight to the eraser. Always pull this out just a little bit when you're working right on the edge, and just give it some pressure. And I'll go all the way down the edge and then kind of work the rest of it. And that's way so I can put the backer board back in there. So I'm just going to lightly work all the way down this edge. Again, I'm going to be real careful around this staple tear. You can see too that red. There's some red transfer. This is probably from a book it was laying on at one time. Somebody probably put this on a book and you had some color bleed. That'll also come off with hop. So I can get rid of pretty much all that red bleed there too. Yeah, this book is just absolutely dirty. I hate to sound like a broken record. It's just I've never seen one this bad. Especially such a key book. Usually even 20 years ago, 25, 30 years ago, people knew that, okay, this book's kind of important. It has a pretty key appearance. Usually that's when people start taking care of them. And then the other books that, become keys later on, I could see where those get dirt. But this has been the first Silver Age appearance of Catwoman since, I'm sure they identified that as what this book was around 1972, 73. So it's definitely seen some love. Whoever owned it, read it, went through it lots of times. So again, careful around the art. You don't want to erase any ink or bar it up or smudge it. So I think probably for this stream too, I'm probably going to finish this book. Probably not going to get into the next two, but what I am going to do, I'll probably go through a little bit of the hop process for this book specifically, just to kind of show you guys. Again, if you're going to do it by the book, don't just go off what you see me do. By the book, even if you don't buy it from like my link below, just buy the book. I don't want you to see something and do something and damage your books because you didn't do the right stuff. But yeah, but we'll go ahead and we'll do a hop on this, or we'll do the starting process. The process takes about an hour, so I can show you the beginning stuff to the process. What you do, what I do. You do whatever you want to do. So we got all the edge done. So I went ahead and slid the board back over against the spine just to give it some a nice solid surface to erase on. Yeah, this thing's got a lot of tiny micro wrinkles too. A lot of those are going to come out with a press. And if you watch my videos regularly, in a few weeks, you will probably see this book getting unboxed, so you can come back and see what we got. So a lot of dirt coming off here. Yeah, look at that. That's just from, I just cleaned this a second ago. It's already got big old chunks of dirt on there. So I get bad too. I keep pulling this out of your view. I think I'm pulling it down too low. I apologize for that. I'm not doing it intentionally. I get focused on cleaning, and I forget to think about you guys. So these letters suck because they're like the spacing's really tight on them. So there's dirt in some of the smaller areas, but there's no way I can get an eraser in there without hitting the ink. So I'm not going to. Like this W is really bad. There's a giant dirt spot right in the middle of the peak of this W, but I can't get into there to clean it very well. So yeah, up here's nice. This isn't so bad. But again, like the E, the S, I can't get inside those closed parts of the letters. So they're just gonna have to stay a little bit dirty. But overall, you're not gonna notice that when you're looking at the book. So we're gonna take all these different erasers I got and just keep working. If you are just joining, this is a Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane number 70. First Silver Age appearance of the Catwoman. I believe it's still the Selena Kyle version of the Catwoman, but I am not 100% on that. I'm going to try and get between the I and the L here just because there's a lot of dirt right there, but I'm not going to be able to get it all because it'll start rubbing off the ink if I do. There goes my little dog again. I got to take a drink. All right, dry my hand off. Just make sure I don't get any condensation from the can on here. Again, that's why you wear the gloves. There's oils on your hands always. Even when they're clean and fresh and dry, there's still oils on your hand. And man, this older paper, it just absorbs it right out of your hands. And a lot of the books you see that have fingerprints on them aren't from kids in the 60s. They were from adults in the 70s and 80s and 90s that handled them with oily hands. And then the oil just soaks in the dirt, and you get that fingerprint, and it's there forever. The only way you get rid of a fingerprint that's soaked into the paper on a comic book is to cut that section out. And you don't want to cut sections of your comic book out. Don't do that. It's funny, as a kid, my dad always called them funny books, and he's, "Oh, you gonna give me some more funny books?" Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what they're called. He was always into he was born in 40, so he was in like the golden age humor stuff. So he liked Lo Abner and Joe Palooka, stuff like that. He didn't even get into the war stuff, which was odd to me because my grandfather was in World War II. He only liked the comedy stuff. Yeah, he always Mutt and Jeff. He liked them. And he would tell me about it. My dad did never go to like comic stuff with me, but he would talk about it when I would come home with new comic books. Did you pick up any Little Abner? It's like, I don't even know what that is, Dad. I was a teenage kid. I was into spandex and Jim Lee women. I always liked Michael Turner's Fathom and stuff like that. I always liked the artwork on that because I was a teenage boy, and that's what teenage boys are supposed to like. But I do remember when I first found out about Alex Ross, and that was a game changer for me. I couldn't imagine that that was real, that someone did that. The same guy who did the Spider-Man comics, or the same type of work that was done on Spider-Man comics, another person was also doing the same work, and it looked like real stuff. It changed the whole concept of what comics were to me. And I, really respect and appreciate his art to this day. He's unbelievable what he does. I heard he's coming to Chicago for like a museum thing. I definitely might try and check that out. Yeah, I think it's maybe their generation, Rich. I mean, my dad grew up in Franklin, so not too far from Carlisle. So I'm guessing your dad was in the same area. So it was probably part of their, cultural thing in that area. But yeah, my dad, he never got it, and he always wanted me. I wish after he's gone now, I think about it, but I should have thought about it when he was still alive and like picked up at a show or a convention, like a little Abner or Mutt and Jeff book, and brought home to him, just for him to relive his childhood a little bit. But I never thought about it. I wasn't that thoughtful kid. I'm a pretty thoughtful adult, but as a kid, I was I didn't think about anybody or anything. I just thought about myself, which I think is pretty normal for kids. Yeah, I can still. My dad passed away in 2010. I can still hear him say, "Hey, John, did you get any funny books?" He's the only person ever called me John, like my whole life. Him and my best friend. My best friend Ed called me John because he had an older brother whose name was Johnny, and it was just kind of to separate us. But my dad always called me John, and I can hear it. Hey, John, did you get any new funny books today? Yeah, I mean, I knew what like Blondie was and stuff like that. Like he would talk about stuff like that because they were in like the newspaper, you know. So I saw Blondie and like the Family Circus in the newspaper, and I think that's kind of what my dad grew up with was that stuff. My dad grew up dirt poor too, so like even a dime for a comic book, like that wasn't something he ever probably had the luxury of having as a kid. So he'd always probably get hand me down comic books from other kids. Um, I used to go to a swap meet in Lucasville, Rich, when I was. They used to have a big right by the prison. I don't know. I'm guessing if you're familiar with Lucasville, you're familiar with the prison. They had a riot back in I don't know the '90s. But they used to have like a big swap meet where I grew up. Everybody had like livestock, and you would go out. I would go out there with some friends, and most of my friends were like farm kids. Morning ramp. Most of my friends were like farm kids, so they'd go out there and they'd buy like chickens or goats and rabbits. But I can remember going out there, going out to Lucasville and going to that, and it'd be like a flea market. They'd have a bunch of other crap too. It's called Chicken Days, huh? Yeah, I don't remember what it's called. I just remember going. My ex-wife loved it because her dad was a farmer, and we'd always go out there, and we'd always end up coming back with some. I mean, they had some weird shit out there. I mean, I remember they had some like these. It wasn't an alligator, but it looked like an alligator you could buy. Yeah, I think that's where it was. It was I don't know what the hell it was called. It was like a small alligator. I'm like, who the hell wants a pet alligator? Like that just seems like a silly pet to have. Yeah, I remember going out there and again, this is probably 20, 21. Yeah, you could find everything. I say that who would buy an alligator? I almost bought a baby porcupine there one time just because I thought, damn, I've never seen anybody had a baby porcupine. But like, I don't know how to take care of porcupine. I don't know what they eat. I don't know anything about them. But yeah, it's always good times going out to Lucasville. And like I said, all my friends were farmers, or they grew up around farms, or they lived on farms, or their parents were farmers. So they were always looking for like livestock, goats and cows and pigs. And it's funny, I grew up around all that crap. A baby fox, that'd be my wife now would love to have a baby fox. That she keeps saying that, oh, we should get goats. I'm like, well, we live in the city, just outside Chicago, so I don't think we're allowed to have goats. But she also thinks goats are like what you see on TV, those yoga goats and all that. And she doesn't know what a goat's really like. They eat everything and they're mean and they'll kick you and they'll headbutt you. They're horrible animals, especially as a pet. But yeah, they put that goat yoga and shit on the internet, and people are like, "Oh, I want to have a goat." No, you don't. Goats aren't good for anything. They're horrible little animals. They're good to eat. That's about it. But yeah, I don't think I ever saw a fox out there. Yeah, it's funny though. I was saying, I grew up around all that crap. And I like it's just not me. like like I'm very cityfied. I don't like bugs. I don't like hunting. I don't like guns. I don't listen to country music. I'm not anything like where I grew up. And it's funny. I don't know why. I just was never into any of the stuff everybody else was in. I mean, I did what I had to do to, like I'd bale hay as a side job in the summertime because it was money. But I would never be a farmer. That's hard ass work. I don't know. I mean, I grew up with kids like that's all they want to do when they grow up is be a farmer. And it's like I don't know, man. I want to win the lottery and sit around and do nothing. Maybe it's just me. But I want to do as little work as possible and get paid as much money as possible to do it. I mean, I'll do the job, I'll do the work, but I don't have aspirations to work my ass off. I have aspirations to get to where I don't have to work my ass off. All right, so we are still cleaning the comic book as we talk about, chickens and goats and foxes here. Like I said before, the back of this thing is trash, so it's taken a long time to clean it up. But you can see, you should be able to see some of the changes here. You still got some dirt and lines and stuff here. Then when you get down here, they're gone. They're not really there anymore over there. There's a nice big crease here that should come out when I do the pressing. There's some color breaking here. I can't get rid of that, but most of the crease is going to be gone. Yeah, and it's looking really good. I'm really, really happy with the results so far. Like I said, if you didn't see this when you came on, this is Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane number 70. First Silver Age appearance of Catwoman. And these cool 19. So I guess this book came out 66 because the 66 Aurora plastic kits. I see these things come up at auction every now and then. It's like I want to buy one, but if I bought a model kit from 1966, I'd probably want to build the damn thing. I think it would be cool. See how the plastic was and all that, but at the same time, it's like it's a piece of history. I don't want to mess it up. See what I did there? Did you see that? That's why I say you should hold the edge down. I didn't hurt it, but I did one of these. And that's the easy way to tear a comic book when you catch it and pop it up like that. So do like I said, not like I did, and hold the corner down when you clean this. This is a lot easier to clean with the big eraser, but there's so much like little gaps here. I'm using this one, but when I do along the bottom, I'll use the bigger, the pencil eraser. I'll actually just do that now. So we'll take the bigger and clean it off. Storm Shadow is going to be super dirty. So that's pretty clean. So we'll go across this. I'm trying to get it so my hand doesn't block what I'm doing so you guys can actually see, but it's a work in progress. I'm learning. So I'm using that StreamYard for the first time today. So I don't know. You guys might not even be able to hear anything I'm saying. It might not be recording well. I don't know. But yeah, got to start somewhere, right? So you should be able to see all this dirt. I hope you can see all this dirt coming off. I'll just go back and forth here and then hold it up to the camera. And you can just see this spot and the difference from where I'm cleaning to just below it. So yeah, you can see this is where I've cleaned. And over here is where I haven't. So you can almost see that, it's basically all the dirt's gone here. And it's all still right there. It's kind of crazy when the first time you do this, when you see how well it works. And it's like, holy crap, man, it's just an eraser. But it does its job, man. It's and a pack of these little eraser tips, they're like $1.99 for like 10 of them. I've only used, this is the second one I've ever used. Like they last forever. So definitely, if you're going to clean books, pick up some of these white eraser tips, and you can put them on anything. I just like, I like my star pencil that I stole from my kids. But you can put it on a pen that's that size, or you can, get a shorter pencil if you want. It's whatever you prefer. But like I said, if you're going to do this, if you're going to clean your own comics, if you're going to press them, all that stuff, take a look below. I got links to all this stuff. Yes, I am pimping it because that helps me out. Helps me pay for some of my editing stuff I use, and helps me get more comic books to show you guys. Use those links, but also not just because of that. Like I'm very I'm very specific in what I use, and I like people tend to go and buy the thing that they find that's the cheapest, and this isn't somewhere where you want to skimp. Just because it's cheap doesn't mean it's the best. Um, and like, yeah, there's some knockoff absorbing pads that are like this, but this isn't expensive, So why are you gonna save a buck? It's not worth saving a buck. Get the good one. Um, yeah, thanks, David. I will check that out. I think part of it might be my internet connection might be because I'm in a room that's almost like a Faraday cage. It's kind of sealed off and it's on Wi-Fi. I think I probably need to hardline connect. I think that would help. But yeah, like I was saying, if you're gonna buy stuff, buy the good stuff. Same with that press. So, I list the press that I use down below, and I would definitely don't get anything other than a clamshell press. But that press that I have is, I mean, it's just really good. It's tested. I've used it a lot, and it has never failed me. I have failed for sure. Um, I have made mistakes that cause problems, but it has never done so. So again, as we're doing the bottom here, you can see I'm just keeping my hand really tight along the bottom to make sure that edge doesn't come up. There's a tear right on the spine there that I need to be real careful with that I just noticed. So I'll kind of put my thumb on the corner just to hold that down. And yeah, it's looking good. Like I said, this book is we an hour and 30 minutes into cleaning one book. I've never spent that much time. Well, I guess we spent about 15 minutes on that Fantastic Four at the beginning, but I've never spent that much time on one book, just because they're usually not this dirty. Now we're getting into some of the areas where it's a little tighter too, so I got to be a little more careful. Not that I'm not being careful everywhere else. I just have to make sure I don't go over the ink. I know I get a little redundant talking about that, but it's important. It's very important not to erase your ink. Some artists spent lots of time drawing this ad up for this thing, and you don't want to mess up their artwork, but ultimately you don't want to mess up the comic book. So this one's tough because there's like a crease running right through here. There's another crease right through here that I just can't. The dirt is like just embedded in the edge. Um, yeah, we'll go clean them, man. That's to me it's therapeutic. Like I sit here and it's just like normally I'm not talking the entire time I'm cleaning. I've been talking for an hour and a half straight, but it's just therapeutic. I kind of zone out. And I love that when you're done, you kind of just sit back and you look like, man, this looks awesome. I did such a great job. And there's that sense of accomplishment when you get done. Um, don't forget to reach out to me too, Rich, on that Conan and let me know. Um, like I said, I would recommend if you're going to do it, have it cleaned and pressed before you go to the convention. It shouldn't take very long to clean it and press it, a couple days. But I would do it before you go, just because I think there are benefits to having that all yellow label. It says when it was signed, it's witnessed, so people like there is a little bit more of a they trust that a little more than verified. Uh, but ultimately, it to what Chonko was saying too, you can get it back. If they're doing on-site grading, you can drop it off Saturday and have it back Sunday, and bring it home from the show with you. I wish I could go. It sounds like a bunch of you guys are going, But yeah, timing's not good for me. I'm going on my first cruise a couple weeks after that, so got too much going on right then. I don't vacation well unless it's to a comic book convention, so I'm kind of back and forth on this whole cruise idea. I think it'll be fun. It's with my in-laws. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm a homebody. I just rather sit at home and like hang out in my comic book room and reorganize my comics or rebag and board them. Like that's what I enjoy. Um, so and we're going to on a cruise to the Bahamas, and it's like, well, there's no comic book shops in the Bahamas that I know of. So like that's what I want to do. If I go on vacation, I want to go somewhere where I can buy some comics. I think I mentioned the other day in one of the streams that I may be going over to Europe for work early next year, and all I can think about is like, oh man, I can get a bunch of foreign edition X-Men comic books. Like, I mean, I'm there for work, but I would have some free time, and man, I want to get like, I love that De X-Man and the Dutch X-Men book I got. It's just cool. It just looks cool. All right, so we're getting close here, guys. Like I said, it's so dirty. It's just a slow process. Um, there's so much dirt on this thing. I'm gonna have to like clean this mat. Like I'm not even gonna like, even if I wanted to go to the next book, I couldn't because I need to clean this table up for all the little crumbs and dirt that's all over the table. So we're gonna finish this up, and I'm gonna show you Hop. You just can't use it unless you read the book. Don't use it and say, "Oh, Johnny showed me how to do this." You get the book, read the book. Again, even if you don't buy it from my link below, buy the book. It tells you a lot about what you need to know when you're doing that. And you got to understand, you're putting a wet piece of paper on top of 60, 70-year-old paper. You got to be real careful when you do that. You don't want to mess that up and do it wrong. You could get a purple label if you. That's hard to get a purple label with Hop, but if you just like put a sopping wet piece of paper on it and then do your Hop treatment, the paper will actually shrink a whole bunch, and that's counts as restoration. So you don't want to do that. So I like these straight edge areas. They're nice because they're easy to clean. This actually is nice because it beads a lot of the dirt off when you're using this. Where this eraser and the micro eraser kind of almost the dirt hangs onto it. This actually just kind of falls off. Everything falls off another way. So you got to clean the book all the time, but you don't have to clean the eraser as much. Man, this book's been a workout. So that's the problem too. Sometimes it's down a little bit too far, and it's like wobbling as I go. I don't want it to wobble because then I lose control a little bit. I mean, I'm not losing control, but I can't have that finer dexterity when I clean and be as precise when it's real floppy. But you don't want to get it down too low to where you take a chance of scratching it with the actual eraser thing too. So I'm kind of right in between those spots. So just be careful. I could take an X-Acto knife and trim it down, but it's not really that bad. So I probably should have been using this one anyways. I kind of get that way. I get stuck on one. I really like the eraser I'm using, and I keep using it. Like I'll use that micro eraser on like really big areas, and it's kind of wasteful. But this eraser fits perfectly between the kit number and the 4 hobby kits thing. So it's kind of perfect for this strip right here. So we're basically down to just this area here. Still needs cleaned. Excuse me. And I promise at the end we will do a Hop. I mean, we're not going to do it. I'm going to get it ready, and then just because I can't really move the camera and go the way it's set up, but I'll do all the stacking layers here, and then I'll put it in the hop. See what we can get out of this thing. I'm pretty sure in the front specifically, we're going to be able to remove all those tide lines. There's some color bleed on the back. I'm pretty sure we'll also clean up. You know, this book definitely has a ceiling though. No matter how good a cleaner you are, no matter how good a cleaner you are, there's still limits. So, and David, I'm not exactly sure yet. We have a machine that's being built that's going to be ready in like to be tested in early 2026. And I'm a safety manager, and part of my job is we have to go and do a safety assessment of equipment before it comes to us. And there are two pieces that are coming from Europe of this bigger machine. And one is coming from Italy, and one is coming from France. But I don't know where at in either. But yeah, I've heard France is really good for comics. I also I love the Italian comics, so I definitely if I have to go to Italy, I'm definitely wanting to check that out. I've never been to Europe, and it's kind of sad. Like there's all these great things to see in Europe, and I literally want to spend all my free time if I go just checking out comic book shops. You know, it's like I don't need to see the Eiffel Tower. There's a comic book shop nearby. You know, or all the history in Europe, and yeah, all I can think about is checking out comic book shops. It's not a for sure thing yet either. I won't know till probably later this year. And the actual timing, I think it's probably going to be like January or February. So it might be the weather might really suck while I'm there. And there's a chance. So the machine that's coming from, I think, France may be coming from Georgia. And they didn't specify if it was Georgia, the state here, or Georgia, the country there. I'll be honest, I think it's Georgia, the country there, but they just said we're either going to get it from France or Georgia. So I would think that, I don't know, tariffs might have changed things, but I would think that the machinery built in Europe would be cheaper than machinery built in the U.S. Plus, it's all metric there, so it's a lot more precise. You know, the engineering is more precise. So usually those really fine detailed machines, a lot of them come from Europe. But yeah, I think it'll be cool. Like I'll definitely, if I do end up going, I'll definitely take some video of my comic hunting. I do occasionally travel for work, but it's rare that I actually go out of the country. It's usually just here in the U.S. And there's a lot of machine manufacturers here in like the greater Chicago area, as well as just up in Wisconsin, which isn't too far away. So a lot of the stuff I can actually drive to. It's close enough. It's an hour or two drive. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be cool if it happens. All right. We are getting into short rolls, guys. And gals, if there's any gals out there. I say guys as a neutral term. Guys are anyone who is someone I'm talking to. All right, so we got just a little bit more around this this text here, and then we're going to be good to go. And I did a lot of this at the beginning, if you remember, because we worked around the 920. So there's not a whole lot left. And then we'll start hopping. Not like a bunny, like a comic book cleaner. So I'll have to grab a few things to go through that process, but they're all real close to me. You can see me put wet paper on top of this comic book. A lot of people are always shocked, but it's not quite how you expect it to be. But I have shown people who are like, oh my gosh. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't do what you think. And it's not sopping wet, it's It's just saturated paper that's kind of dry. So I think we're pretty good there. I'm going to give it the absorbing rub just to get any chunks off. And again, that's long. That's an hour and a half cleaning one book, man. I knew this was going to take a while. I planned on cleaning a couple, but like I need a break and I can't even get into the next one. But you know, this is the next one, and it's just as dirty as the one we just did. So we're going to flip this over. Make sure I use my little makeup duster tool. Get any little chunks of crap off there. And I'm going to grab some layer sheets. So hold tight and we'll show you this next process. So you should still be able to hear me. So I'm going to grab, I'm taking my gloves off because I need my hands free for this. And I need the dexterity of my fingers. But I'm going to grab a couple pieces of backer board. Just standard magazine backer board. I'm going to grab 3 of those. And I'm going to grab a couple pieces of 65-pound cardstock. Right there, just 65-pound cardstock paper. And then I'm just going to grab a little stack of printer paper. And the printer paper is one of the main parts you use here. So what I'm going to do is move all this out of the camera so it's out of the way. And I have a towel that I use. So I'm going to move these comic books out of the way so they don't get any overspray. Set those over there. So I'm going to lay this towel out. And again, don't try this at home, kids. If you do, buy the book. So we're going to lay that out. And then we're going to take just the standard printer paper. This is like 20-pound, inkjet paper. And I got a bottle, a mister. Just a spray mister. And we're going to mist this. This is actually just full of peroxide. Just your standard brown bottle peroxide. And I'm just going to mist this paper on both sides. So, it's not sopping wet, but it's damp. You can see it. We're going to flip it over, and we're going to do the same thing. And I'm just going to let that sit for a minute and let all the peroxide absorb in. You can see if you miss anywhere because it'll be like really white where it didn't absorb. So I'm going to move this to the side and we're going to do the stacking layers. So I'm just going to let this dry to the side, not dry completely, just absorb all that moisture and get it to where it's just lightly damp. So now we're going to pull the book back out. And we're going to do our stacking layer. So the first thing we're going to do is backing board. Get that crumb off there. So I'm going to lay the backing board out. And then I'm going to lay 65-pound cardstock on top of that. I'm going to take the book, find a centerfold. This is kind of standard pressing stuff here. Find a centerfold. Put that in there right against the centerfold. And then only on the inside cover for this step, I'm going to put one piece of just standard 20-pound inkjet paper. And just like if you were pressing, if you've ever pressed a book, most of this is very similar to pressing, except for you'd have some SRP and something behind the last cover. So I'm just going to rub it really good. And you see I'm barehanded now. Because I really want to I want to make sure there's no dirt on here that I'm going to press into this. I'm going to check my my paper. It's getting kind of where I want it as far as dryness. And I think it's pretty much ready to go. And I'm going to show this to you on Try To. You can see it's not soaking wet, but it is wet. And this is where everybody's like, oh my gosh. I'm just going to lay it right on top of this comic book. And what you will see when I do that is you can see right through it. And you just want to really get any bubbles out, any little chunks of stuff that may be on there. And that it's kind of, that's the rough part. It's easier to do this outside of the press. I see a lot of pressers do this in the press. It's just easy. I'm on a flat surface right here. It's easy to do it right here. So then I got that on there. I'm going to take another just 20-pound paper, and this is kind of this will absorb some of the dirt too when we do this. So we're going to put that on there. Then we're going to put the 65-pound on top of that. If I can find out where I put it. I got a stack of paper in my hands, guys. I'm trying. So 65-pound on that, and then the cardstock on top of that, or the backing board on top of that, and we're ready to go. This is ready to go to the press. So you don't preheat your press with this process either. So it's not the aroma, David. So paper is made with the paper making process uses peroxide. What they're cracking down on is people who oversaturate. If you make this super wet and put it on here, the cover will actually shrink. And then the bled technique, which is a blue light, focus blue light, helps the colors pop. People are over whitening them, and I've never gotten a purple label or any kind of notes for cleaning from this technique. All this does is pull the dirt out. So I'm going to do what's called a dwell now. So this actually needs to go in the press because that all of that moisture is starting to absorb into the cover, and the times are very critical on this. So I have everything ready to go. I'm going to put it in my press just like it is, making sure I hold it really tight. And again, I'm sorry the press is off camera. It's too hard to move the camera and show you what I'm doing. But I'm not going to preheat my press. I'm just going to close it. A lot of times when you press a book, you always preheat your press. With this technique, you don't. So you could hear me. I just clamped it shut. And I'm going to leave that pressure on there with no heat at all for about 2 minutes. And then after about 2 minutes, I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to let it heat up to 140 degrees, and then I'm going to turn it off. And then I'll let it sit for an hour and then take it out. So what happens when you make paper? They use a lot of different chemicals. You don't want to put bleach on a book. That's bad. You'll get it downgraded for bleach. You'll get a purple label for bleach anytime you use it. And anything that's not natural to paper. So even if you chemically test the paper, peroxide is used in the chemical process. So it's not something that you've added to it. Plus, when you heat up peroxide, it evaporates. So what it does is it kind of, the way I understand it, and I'm not a chemist, the way I understand it is the peroxide penetrates into the paper. And then when you heat it up, it kind of withdraws from the paper, and that pulls the dirt out. It's very good for tide lines. It's very good for water lines, water stains. And I've done dozens of books, more than dozens, probably 70 or 80 books with this process. I've never gotten a purple label. I have on the bled technique because I've oversaturated with the white, and it actually, it does chemically change the paper. So again, while I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I don't personally recommend the bled technique. Use it at your own discretion. If you think it works good for you, go for it. It's not something I really like. So yeah, we're going to get this, I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. It's been about 2 minutes, and that's going to wrap it up, guys. I'm not going to keep talking to you. I need a break from cleaning. My hands are a little sore, that all that fine-tuned scrubbing. So I was going to get into the next book, which was this Batman 190 is a great cover. I always love it, but maybe next week we'll get into that if I can wait to clean it. But yeah, I'm planning on kind of doing this every week. Feel free to pop in. I appreciate all you guys that come and hung out with me, and I hope you guys have a great day. And like, subscribe, leave comments, and then don't forget, if you're gonna clean, you're gonna press, buy the right stuff, and I got it all listed down below. So as my dog barks away. So have a great Sunday, guys. We'll see y'all next time.